On June 28, 1914, exactly 111 years ago, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his pregnant wife Sophie took place in Sarajevo. But what were the reasons that led to this event? Let's find out. Pre-war situation. In the 19th century, the Balkan Peninsula was divided into two spheres of power. One was the Ottoman Empire and the other was Austria-Hungary. During the period from 1828 to 1908, the Ottoman Empire, also known as the sick man of the Bosphorus, began to weaken and gradually lose control over the Balkans. As a result, during this period, the Balkan countries gained their independence. Greece in 1821, Serbia and Montenegro in 1878, Romania in 1881, and Bulgaria in 1908. In 1911, the Balkan League was formed by the liberated Christian countries, Serbia, Greece, Bulgaria, and Montenegro, in a joint struggle against the tyrant, the Ottoman Empire. The First Balkan War began on October 8, 1912, and ended on May 30, 1913, with a victory for the Balkan League. Bulgaria, dissatisfied with the territorial divisions after the war, initiated the Second Balkan War by attacking Serbia without declaring war, late in the night between June 29 and 30, 1913. At that moment, Greece and Montenegro joined Serbia. Later, seeing the developments and Bulgaria's inevitable defeat, Romania and Turkey also joined on Serbia's side. This war ended with Bulgaria's defeat on August 10, 1913. On the other hand, Austria-Hungary, a dual monarchy with a highly complex ethnic structure, was a rather unstable state due to the large number of people from different ethnic backgrounds, who often did not even understand each other. Demographic structure of Austria-Hungary. Ethnicity in percent. Germans 24%, Hungarians 20%, Czechs 13%, Poles 10%, Ruthenians 8%, Romanians 6%, Croats 5%, Serbs 4%, Slovaks 4%, Slovenes 3%, Italians 3%. On October 5, 1908, Austria-Hungary decided to annex Bosnia, which was also multi-ethnic, thereby creating an additional problem both internally and externally, an event known as the Annexation Crisis, Balkan Crisis, or Bosnian Crisis. At that time, Orthodox Serbs made up the majority in Bosnia, so Serbia and the Bosnian Serbs reacted negatively to this move by Austria-Hungary. This led to the emergence of several separatist and revolutionary movements in Bosnia, one of which was Young Bosnia, whose goal was liberation from the oppressor and unification of Bosnia and the rest of the South Slavs with Serbia, or the creation of a new pan-Slavic state, Yugoslavia. Another reason for the deterioration of relations between Austria-Hungary and Serbia was the May coup of 1903, a state coup in which King Alexander Obrenović and his wife Queen Draga, along with around 200 of their relatives and supporters, were killed. This ended the Obrenović dynasty, which had ruled Serbia, and brought the Karađorđević dynasty to power. This coup greatly affected Serbia's relations with European powers, as the Obrenović dynasty had strong diplomatic and political ties with Austria-Hungary, whereas the Karađorđević dynasty had closer connections with France and Russia. After Russia's defeat in the Russo-Japanese War and the 1905 Russian Revolution, Germany and Austria-Hungary began a strong push into the Balkans. At the same time, Germany was building the Berlin-Baghdad Railway and strengthening its navy, which directly threatened the interests of Russia and Great Britain. Chief of the General Staff Konrad von Hötzendorf wrote numerous memorandums claiming that the South Slavic question was unresolved and must be settled. From 1907 onward, both Hötzendorf and Foreign Minister Alois Lexa von Aehrenthal systematically advocated for either annexation or occupation of Serbia. Thus, since 1907, plans for occupation already existed. Austria-Hungary also waged an economic war against Serbia. From 1906 to 1911, a customs war was fought, from which Serbia emerged stronger. Seeing the events unfolding in Europe, the Russian Empire, the French Republic, and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland formed the Triple Entente on August 30th, 1907. The world stood on the brink of war, but none of the sides had a clear motive to start it. Yet, the Sarajevo assassination and the ultimatum sent to Serbia. The event that was key to the outbreak of World War I was the Sarajevo assassination, which occurred on June 28, 1914. On that day, the Austrian heir to the throne, together with his wife, decided to attend a military parade in Sarajevo. The Serbs of Bosnia and Herzegovina viewed the military maneuvers and the presence of the heir to the throne, Franz Ferdinand, on June 28th, the great Serbian holiday of Vidovdan, as an open provocation. The Serbian government, through Jovan Jovanović, informed the Austro-Hungarian Minister of Finance, who was also the governor of the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Leon Belinsky, that something might happen in Bosnia and that caution and security should be increased while the heir was attending the military maneuvers. However, Belinsky believed that this information should not be taken seriously, stating that esteemed Austrian politicians would go wherever they needed to go and that it was Austrian territory. After the military maneuvers held near the border with Serbia, Franz Ferdinand headed to Sarajevo. Members of the previously mentioned organization, Young Bosnia, received information about his arrival and organized his assassination. Gavrilo Princip, a Serb from Bosnia, shot the Habsburg heir and his wife, fatally wounding them. The Sarajevo assassination became the pretext for the long-anticipated conflict to finally begin. The decision to go to war. The decision to go to war was made on July 5th and 6th in Potsdam and Berlin, when Austria-Hungary sought support from Germany, a support that it would receive. The German Kaiser Wilhelm II wrote in his notes, which were extensive diplomatic reports, "Now or never." Berlin and Vienna sought a formal legal and diplomatic justification for war, which they found in the ultimatum that was delivered to the Serbian government on July 23. This ultimatum was described by British Foreign Secretary Sir Edward Grey as the most terrible document I have ever seen delivered from one state to another that was independent. Serbia had to respond to the ultimatum within 48 hours. The ultimatum consisted of 10 demands that would severely undermine the integrity of Serbia, putting it in a very difficult position. Austro-Hungarian demands in the ultimatum: to prevent the publication of materials inciting hatred and hostility toward Austria-Hungary, to immediately dissolve the organization Narodna Odbrana, National Defense, as well as any other organizations involved in propaganda against Austria-Hungary, to remove from public education anything that could promote propaganda against Austria-Hungary, to dismiss from the army and the administration all officers guilty of propaganda against Austria-Hungary, and to provide the names of those officers to Austro-Hungarian authorities, to accept the participation of Austro-Hungarian officials in suppressing subversive activities against Austria-Hungary within Serbia, to initiate judicial proceedings against the accomplices in the Sarajevo assassination who are on Serbian territory, with assistance and instructions from Austro-Hungarian authorities, to immediately arrest 2 individuals named as involved in the assassination, based on the preliminary investigation conducted by Austria-Hungary, to implement effective measures to prevent the illegal transfer of weapons and explosives across the border, to provide explanations to Austria-Hungary regarding statements made by high-ranking Serbian officials in Serbia and abroad who expressed hostility toward Austria-Hungary, to notify Austria-Hungary without delay about the fulfillment of these obligations. The Serbian Prime Minister Nikola Pasic decided to accept all demands, except the 6th, which would have allowed Austro-Hungarian police to move freely through Serbian territory and interrogate anyone in connection to the Sarajevo assassination. Together with his colleagues, Nikola Pasic prepared a response, proposing that instead of the Austro-Hungarian court, they would accept the Hague Tribunal as a neutral body. With this response, Serbia presented itself as a skilled diplomatic nation seeking to preserve peace. However, Austria-Hungary was dissatisfied with the response, and the war began.